I think a lot of people have a hard time believing that any supplement or any natural solution or any kind of food could make that much of a difference. My name is Damien Zielinski. I am a certified nutritional practitioner, a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, and I'm very, very close to becoming a certified functional medicine practitioner. I specialize in depression, anxiety, and insomnia. Today I'm going to discuss 3 big points that you should consider in terms of eating for mental health. We're conditioned to look in one direction, and people have a hard time believing that the stuff that you eat really does make a difference in how you feel. I think it's really the ideology of our culture that it doesn't really matter what you eat, and if you're having problems with your brain, then you need antidepressants. But meanwhile, the diet is really this stone that never gets pulled back to see what's underneath. Firstly, proteins, good proteins. Neurotransmitters are largely made of peptides or proteins, so we need good proteins coming in terms of the diet. Protein is something that has been underemphasized or even demonized. We're afraid of getting too much protein. If you are suffering from mental health issues, you really need to consider having protein at every meal, high quality protein that you can digest and you can absorb the nutrients from. So for some people, they can get away with a fully vegetarian or vegan diet with things like tofu, lentils, and beans. For other people, it really does seem to be the case that they do need animal proteins, or it's something that they need to be extra cognizant of. I heard it compared once to an armoire, where if you want an armoire, you can go to the furniture store, buy an armoire, then you have an armoire for your living room. Or you can go to the lumber store, get wood, get a bunch of tools, you could build an armoire. Either way, you get an armoire. But your body has to do so much work in terms of building a complete amino acid profile when you're getting your amino acids from rice and beans. Whereas if you're getting animal proteins, you're really getting these intact, full, complete proteins that your body can use much more readily. Another huge role of proteins is that they help balance out blood sugar. Someone might eat a typical vegetarian meal of pasta and tomato sauce, and that's it, that's the meal. Okay, great. Well, you have no real protein there. When you put it in, when you add in some chicken or some meatballs to your pasta dish, you're going to find that the carbohydrates get broken down at a much slower pace that provides you with a stable source of cellular fuel. And of course, the brain is the most glucose hungry organ in the body. It really wants a stable supply of sugar. So if you're spiking your blood sugar and crashing all day long, you're setting yourself up for mood swings. So protein has a number of roles, but the short version is eat it. Get good proteins with every meal, ideally. Good fats. You gotta get good fat. Fat has been demonized very much in our culture. Through the 80s and 90s, there's a huge media campaign convincing you that if you eat too many eggs, you're gonna have a heart attack. Well, I'm here to tell you that you need good fat. Our cellular membrane is made of fat. The brain of the cell is not the nucleus where DNA is stored. The brain of the cell is actually the cellular membrane. You can think of it as a castle wall with the drawbridge. This is the site of mediation where things are brought in and brought out. The types of fats that we take in directly affect our cellular brain, that cellular membrane, which is made out of fat. If all we're getting is these broken omega-6 fats, what we're getting is rigid cell membranes. If we're getting more long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acids through things like fish and flax seeds, walnuts, we're going to get cellular membranes that are more aqueous, more elastic, and more versatile. So we're directly affecting both our cellular brain and our brain through the balance of fats that we're receiving in our diet. You can think about it as taking things out, putting things in. What you want to take out are those broken fats, this canola oil, vegetable oil, soybean oil, let alone other ones, cottonseed oil. Meanwhile, bring in good fats. Fish is one of the most powerful things you can eat for good fats because these very long chain polyunsaturated fatty acids like EPA, eicosapentaenoic acid, DHA, docosahexaenoic acid, if you get these root omega-3 fats from things like flax, walnuts, chia seeds, your body will have to convert to make those powerful anti-inflammatory polyunsaturated fatty acids. But in fish, they're preformed. You eat the fish, and these fatty acids can go right to work building powerful cellular membranes and turning off inflammation. One thing I will say that's surprising to people is when I talk about gluten, because there is a significant percentage of the population where they'll eat gluten, they have no digestive complaints whatsoever, stomach upset, you name it, they're not experiencing any of that. But every time they eat gluten, their immune system is attacking their brain because these proteins that are found in food, the alpha-gliadin protein that's associated with gluten in particular is a notorious offender, is similar to the proteins that our body is made out of. So when our immune system gets into defense mode, it can attack tissues, including the nervous system and brain tissue, when gluten is around. You might not know that this is going on. You just eat your toast for breakfast every morning and you feel fine, except that you are extremely depressed and can barely go to work and so on. In many ways, what I do with clients is taking things out and putting things in. The things that you need to take out are things that you're reacting to. You might not know that you're reacting to them. So you can get all the good proteins, you can get all the good fats, that's great, but you might still find yourself depressed, you might still find yourself anxious if you are still taking in large quantities of things that you are allergic to. Overwhelmingly, the most common triggers that people have are gluten and dairy, and they actually cross-react with one another. So if you've taken all the gluten out of your diet, great job, but you're still eating tons and tons of cheese, you might find that your immune system is still being flared as though you were eating gluten. The dirty secret is that all grains have glutinous proteins in them. When products call themselves gluten-free, what that typically means is that they have no alpha-gliadin, which is the most studied and most notorious glutinous protein. However, even things like rice, other gluten-free grains will have glutinous proteins, albeit not that alpha-gliadin. The short takeaway from this is that some people may find themselves feeling much, much better when they cut out gluten for a month. Other people, especially people with celiac disease, will probably find that they actually need to go the whole distance and cut out all grains and dairy. And that's when they see the magic of really experiencing the gluten-free phenomenon. I just mentioned gluten because it's the most common. Dairy, these are very common triggers. But if you know that you're allergic to asparagus, if you know that you're allergic to raspberries, cut it out. Cut out all that stuff and see how you feel, because you just might find that a month goes by and you feel like a new person. When you look at a good plate of food, it's actually pretty simple. This is equally true of mental health or any other health condition. Good proteins that you can absorb, that you can digest. Good fats, lack of bad fats, lots of plants, phytonutrients, which just means nutrients found in plants. That's it. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be crazy. Think about these fundamentals, get those into your body every day. Cut out the stuff that you're reacting to, you might be shocked by just how much of a difference it really makes and how differently your mind works when you're not exposed to things that you're reacting to.